this last news story. Sony cancels 2 PlayStation games, including a God of War sequel. This is from PC Mag, written by Kate Irwin. Sony has canceled 2 unannounced live service games under its PlayStation banner, according to a new report. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the cancellations to Bloomberg, saying that the games were canceled after a recent review. The new titles were being made at US-based Sony subsidiaries Bend Studio and Bluepoint Games, respectively, before they were canceled, but neither studio is being shut down. Other PlayStation games will continue to be developed in the future, but it's unclear whether any employees at either studio might be laid off. Bend Studio, based in Oregon, still has more than half a dozen job listings on its website. The studio was acquired by Sony in 2000 and has released over a dozen games, including the open-world adventure game Days Gone. Bluepoint Games, based in Texas, was acquired by Sony in 2021 and has done some work on Titanfall and God of War Ragnarok, to name a few. Bend and Bluepoint are highly accomplished teams who are valued members of the PlayStation Studios family, and we're working closely with each studio to determine what are the next projects, the Sony rep said. While one of the games was believed to be a live service multiplayer God of War title, Bend Studios' canceled game may have been a third-person military shooter. In 2023, Sony said it would only release 6 games by the 2025 fiscal year, but said the fate of the other previously planned 6 titles was uncertain. Now we know that at least 2 of the 12 games have been canceled, and it canceled the hero shooter Concord just 2 weeks after its launch. It also previously canceled The Last of Us game. Helldivers 2, however, was released last year and saw substantial success. Early last year, Sony laid off 900 PlayStation employees and shuttered its London studio. High-budget AAA games have faced big obstacles in the past few years, but the gaming industry on the whole has endured widespread mass layoffs, and a number of studios have been shut down. Netflix shut down its AAA game studio to focus on AI-generated gaming instead, and Microsoft shut down 2 of its smaller game studios last year. This week, Microsoft confirmed to PC Mag that it's laying off more staff in its gaming division, but says the number impacted is very small, and is also laying off staff across other teams as well. So, yeah, PlayStation cancels 2 more live service games, which honestly, good.
Good.
I'm glad.
I do not want a God of War live service game. I'm okay. Thank you.
That sounds so horrible. Like I'm glad they didn't, because that would have just so destroyed that franchise. Like what they did with the 2018 remake was like such a fantastic like modernization of this. And with mechanics, with story, with character, with everything. And then to be like, and now it's a battle royale. It's like, right. Oh, what is happening?
No,
like
thank you.
We are back. We're back in the PS3 era. Like this is hell. What is happening? Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. But you know, what I imagined actually when I read that was I imagined they would probably, because you know that DLC that came out was kind of like these trials.
It was
basically.
a roguelike?
Like these roguelike trials. I'm like, oh, I wonder if it'd be like something like that, where it's like it would be more like co-op, like go through the trials and stuff, and that's all it is just like an unlimited number of trials to just like go through it. I'm like, I hope not. But either I'm glad it's gone now. As far as what, so it sounds like based off of the statement, it sounds like Bluepoint was working on the God of War game, and then Bend was working on a shooter, they said, which is interesting. Has Bend made any other shooters? Is that something they've typically done? Like, what games has Bend Studio made?
No, I don't think that they're typically known for shooters, if I'm remembering correctly. I know they've done a lot more like support work or like side game work, because they did
Siphon Filter.
Yeah, that's not a shooter though. That's more of an action game, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
when I think shooter, I think like Halo or
that's true.
You know, Call of Duty, or I mean, I know that's first person shooters, but like even a third person shooter, I feel like you do more than shoot in Siphon Filter. So
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's more of like a third person. Well, according to Wikipedia, third person. It says it's a third person shooter game. But I guess I haven't played Siphon Filter since it came out in 1999. So honestly,
I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just don't classify Siphon Filter in my brain as a straight up shooter. It's more of an action game, but
yeah. No,
I've been wrong many a time before.
It was a super spy genre hybrid that contained elements of stealth action and puzzle solving. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything in there. A little bit of everything.
Okay.
But yeah, that's so. But let's not forget Bubsy 3D.
Oh, how could we forget?
How could we forget the best shooter of them all? No, I guess what I'm on one hand, it's like I am worried about layoffs within PlayStation. Like it's always a fear. It's like, okay, things get canceled, people are going to lay off. But man, I'm at the same time, I'm so happy that they just realized that, hey, we shouldn't just put things out just to put them out. Like, let's make sure they're actually good quality, right? I hope that's what their conversation was that they realized that quality was going to be bad and not just a money argument. Because I don't know. It's just, they've been on this run recently where it's just like games are just fine. I don't know. Or just not coming out at all. It's like they're either just fine or just not coming out at all. Like I can't even remember the last PlayStation game where I was just like, oh man, like just so stoked about. Like I still haven't even played Spider-Man 2. And that game was actually good from what I heard. I just never got around to playing it. But it's just like, I don't know. I've just been so down on PlayStation for a while. It's just like, oh man, it's just hard to get into any of their stuff recently. But yeah. So for me, it's like, it's bittersweet because on one hand, it's like, oh, I hope people don't get laid off. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm glad they're maybe starting to get back in the swing of like good PlayStation quality, and not just making things to make money, cash grabs that don't work out. They've realized with Concord, obviously, we can try to go for a cash grab, but people are catching on to our shenanigans and they're just not going to support it.
You mean we can't make a game from a trend that's 6 years old already? Yeah. For a $250 million and not make it back immediately?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. I don't know if you do, Adrian, if you have any more thoughts or speculation or anything.
No, you pretty much nailed it. I honestly wish that they would go farther and, go ahead and just nuke this initiative, which it sounds like they're basically doing.
It sounds like most of the games have been either canceled or only two of the games have come out, and Helldivers was a huge success. Concord was a massive failure, and everything else has been canceled basically, or just we just still don't know the state of. But
also, Helldivers had for however little it was, they had an install base because it is the second in the series. So they had some guaranteed sales. Concord was a new IP that really had to kind of fight to show why it's worth, investing into as the player. And they just didn't have what it took or what people were looking for.
Right.
If you like Helldivers by the time you start to play Helldivers 2. And you can't say the same for Concord. It's tough for new IPs, man. It's really sink or swim. And Concord just didn't have it. Couldn't swim. Yep. So
Suck7 in the chat says, all this time I thought Bluepoint was working on a new IP. They still might be.
So did we,
because they have they'll have like multiple teams within their studio, right? Like sometimes, or are they not big enough for that?
Right. No, I mean, I think they can, but also there was that report that was saying that they were working on a new IP too. So I don't know.
Yeah. They could be developing something. It could be like pre-production with a smaller team, and then the main team was working on the God of War thing.
I guess it could be.
Initially, the God of War thing seemed kind of weird to me. Like, why would Bluepoint work on that? But now that I'm reading the article here, I notice it does say that they did some work on God of War Ragnarok. So it's like, okay, they would have assets and stuff like they worked with on God of War Ragnarok a bit. So that would make sense for them to do a spin-off or something. But yeah, that if Bluepoint's working on something, I imagine it's like they have separate teams within the studio, and like one was working on this and then another one was working on a new IP, because there's been way too many rumors about a new IP coming from them for it not to be true. I feel like, right? Like it'd be wild.
There's fire right there where there's smoke.
Yeah, so there's got to be something going on over there, even if it's still in pre-production after all these years. But I'd be shocked if it's that, but you never know.
Speaking of PlayStation Studios, Do we know? And maybe we have already heard something, or maybe there was a preview and I forgot. Do we know if, and if so, what Media Molecule is doing right now? Are they making a game right now?
I don't think we've heard anything. I can look real quick, but yeah, the last time
I know that they downsized recently. I think it was what last.
Yeah, that
last
was
year, the year before,
in March of last year, they had a big layoff, a bunch of layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, so April of last year, there's a rumor, Little Big Planet developer working on new IP. So that was after the layoffs. So March was the layoffs, and then April, apparently they're working on a new IP. But we haven't heard anything since then. So
I hope they get to actually release it, because the streets need some new media molecule creativity ASAP.
It said, so here's an article from May. So even after that, so March they got layoffs. April was the first rumor for new IP, and then May there's a new one. It says Media Molecule's new project is more of a game than a creative tool, says co-founder. So
okay,
they're leaning back more into their game, like Little Big Planet type thing, or like Tearaway, other than and less of like a Dreams kind of thing.
Dreams, mm-hmm.
Which I'm fine with. Like that's great.
Yeah,
give me games. Games are great. You know, almost anything they've ever
give
put
me
out
games that
great.
I don't have to make, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.